Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law she can't expect her kids to benefit from me being their aunt when she has always treated me badly and kept me out? I married my husband 4 years ago and I have known him for years. He has an older sister who does not like me. My crime? Her husband got a little too flirty with me when my husband introduced us all, and he had to be told to back off. But not just me, but my husband too. Of course, I was the cheap woman trying to steal her man. The fact that I never did anything to encourage it and actively told him to stop and walked away wasn't enough. It also wasn't an isolated thing with him, but my husband intervened to make sure he knew we meant business. She has 3 kids with a husband, and ever since that day we met, she has kept me at arm's length with her kids. And she's rude, very rude, has also treated me in very childish ways. But it's whatever. I won't force myself into a place I'm not wanted. I am kind to the kids, but she never wants me spending time with them or talking too much with them. But now she's jealous because my sister's children are close to me, and my husband and I spoil them since I have fertility issues and might never get to be a mom. She called my husband out first, and he told her that her kids were welcome, but he wasn't going to take money we earned together and tell me I need to stay home or not speak to her kids while they're with him/us. She then confronted me and accused me of treating her children badly. I told her she can't treat me badly, keep me out of her kids' lives, and expect them to benefit from me being their aunt. I told her I would love to spoil her kids too, but if I'm not welcome, then I can't. She said I was taking our issues out on her kids. Maybe I said things wrong here. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. I'm gonna say everyone sucks here. I think sister-in-law is pretty obvious on your part. I realize she's forcing this. But what I don't hear here is your husband discussing this with her or with her husband and just cutting her out of the discussion. This is coming from a petty dispute between you two. And for some reason, neither husband has gotten involved to try to work this out, according to what you have shared here. So from that level, I don't think you've done enough to resolve this for the kids. You are both making the kids suffer because of your own issues with each other. Have your husband and hers had an active involvement in either prolonging this or fixing it? My husband tried to fix things, but she thinks I'm a cheap woman out to steal her husband. After that, he could barely look at her when she called me that. Not the a-hole, but those kids don't deserve to be left out because their mom is like this. I'd find a way to do stuff for them in spite of their mom. I would hate for them to ever think you just didn't care for them. How would I do that without going against her boundaries? They are kids, even if it means them being left out. Anything outside of that, she could say I was kidnapping her kids. Not the a-hole. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. To be fair, sister-in-law's kids aren't winning any prizes because of their mom. I know, and that's really sad. But mom is the blocker to the kids having a relationship and all the benefits that come with that. Not the a-hole. So she wants her money for her kids, but doesn't want you around, is rude, and actively works against her kids having a relationship with you. She's an entitled a-hole, and she has only herself to blame. Another human who decided to walk in shadow. The brother-in-law has to wear some of the blame too. I don't actually think the brother-in-law's to blame for the way sister-in-law is treating OP. Sister-in-law made a choice to blame OP and take out her frustration on OP instead of placing the blame where it's due. For the record, brother-in-law's awful, and what he did was awful. Sister-in-law's equally awful for making OP the scapegoat. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to offer my spare room to my cousin, who was recently kicked out of her parents' home for being gay? Context. Rebecca, 32, female, recently came out to her mother, 50s or 60s female, and it didn't go well. Her mother harbors strong homophobic beliefs, so I, 30 male, wasn't surprised that she reacted poorly. I was surprised, however, at how badly her mother took the news. To make a long story short, her mother kicked Rebecca out and all but disowned her. This happened last Saturday. The dispute. This afternoon, Rebecca called me to ask if she could stay in my guest room until she figures her situation out. I spent the day mulling it over, but ultimately decided to decline the request. Here's a summary of why. I'm not close to Rebecca. In fact, if anything, we have somewhat of a strained relationship. As we were rather close to age, we were often pitted against each other in terms of achievements and progress by various members of our extended family. As I grew up, I mellowed out, content to live life on my own terms. Rebecca, however, always took every opportunity to tear me down. Her latest slew of attacks against me involving her demeaning my job and claiming that my job added no value to society. I have no faith that Rebecca will figure anything out within anything remotely resembling a reasonable time frame. She's not exactly a functional adult. She's on her third degree after dropping out of her first two. She can't hold down a job, even the simplest part-time ones. As far as I'm aware, she's been unemployed for almost 2 years at this point. Rebecca has relied entirely on her parents for almost every facet of her life, be it having meals cooked for her, the cleaning, and ironing of her clothes, everything. Rebecca is very much a child despite her age. I'm not Rebecca's only option. Several of my cousins have their own places, even if they're just renting. Rebecca can go stay at theirs until she figures her situation out. And, unlike me, my cousins actually have a relationship with Rebecca and think fondly of her. The fallout. While I didn't expect Rebecca to be happy with my decision, I didn't anticipate her blowing up at me either. She called me selfish, that I took family for granted, and even attempted to label me as a homophobic. Like I said above, I was never that fond of Rebecca, so her words did not bother me all too much. What did hurt me were the words of some of my other cousins who I do care about, also accusing me of being inconsiderate. They say that as I'm the only one of my cousins who own my own place, and that I have an unused room, I should be offering that room to Rebecca. I don't know. Should I? How much do you owe family, even if you don't like that family? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Rebecca's 32 years old, still living off her parents. Whoever takes her in will have a permanent house guest. Not roommate, house guest. Of course, the cousins want you to take her in. That way they don't have to. I'm surprised more people haven't mentioned her age. A 32-year-old getting kicked out of home and wanting someone else to support her? Hard pass. Right, she's accustomed to doing absolutely no adulting. Hasn't worked in 2 years. Whomever takes her in will need a whole skateboard, helmet, stick of dynamite / Looney Tunes Acme kit to get her out of their house. Not the a-hole. Well, the reason she got kicked out sucks. Rebecca's an a-hole who just so happens to be gay. It's your home, and based on your reasons listed and the information provided, I can't say you're in the wrong for what you did. Could it be seen as insensitive? Yes, and I do see it like that, as I'm a big proponent of supporting LGBT people as one myself. But Rebecca has seemingly done little to earn such aid, and based on your description of how she lived with her parents, I wouldn't make her my roommate either. Her being family shouldn't give her the right to be an a-hole and freeloader in your home. I tend to think that the LGBT stuff is irrelevant here. It is a condition that caused her need, but it is not the cause for OP's denial of meeting that need. OP is being perfectly reasonable in saying no to Rebecca. Living with someone requires a relationship with a level of trust and respect that she and Rebecca do not share. While being sensitive to the fact that Rebecca just came out is important, it does not alter the fact that OP and Rebecca do not have the established relationship. That would make living together even a moderately okay idea. How much do you owe family? Well, when the family is a cousin who has been the a-hole to you for years, I'd say you owe her a big, fat 0. You are not the a-hole, and I hope for your sake that your other cousins realize it. It sounds as if they're mad at you, mostly because they might now have to step up themselves and help take care of her, and they clearly don't want to. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not going to my sister's baby shower because it was on my birthday? I, 22 female, turned 22 last month. I had plans for my birthday. My fiance and I planned to go to an art museum in a neighboring city, then afterwards go to a buffet restaurant along with some friends. We organized this a couple of months in advance. My sister Lola, 31 female, is pregnant with her 4th child, and for some reason, she decided to host the baby shower on my birthday. I didn't know until she sent out the email invites around 3 weeks before the day. I messaged Lola and told her that I'm sorry, but the shower's on my birthday, and I already made plans to celebrate my birthday. I don't know if Lola just forgot when my birthday was, which I doubt because our birthdays are 10 days apart. But she got really defensive and passive-aggressively said that it's fine that I don't prioritize family. She told me I'm being selfish. Lola told our parents about it and they got mad at me and demanded that I cancel my plans to go to the baby shower and implied that my unborn sibling will hate me if I don't. I ended up not going to the shower and everyone is royally angry with me. Lola has me blocked and everything, and my parents are demanding that I apologize to her. Now for the top comments. Not day whole. You cancel plans for the first baby, but I'm surprised the fourth child even gets a baby shower. She should have plenty of baby supplies from the first three, so this just sounds like canvassing for free diapers. I feel it's okay to have a baby shower for the fourth, if the first three are the same gender and this one isn't. But sister is definitely entitled to demand sister to change her birthday plans for a lame baby shower. Not day whole. Why can't the kids all wear the same clothes as infants? It doesn't really matter at that age. Yeah, that's true. But from reading this post, I bet the sister just wanted the attention. Not day whole. Your sister had 22 years notice not to book that date, but I guess she doesn't prioritize family. This, accusing you of the very thing that she did and your parents supporting? I'm getting golden child vibes. Not day whole, but your sister is. Pay her no mind, and good on you for sticking with your plans. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she can't live with me or stay with me? I'm 18 female. I'm a high school senior who moved out of my parents' house a week after my 18th birthday and who does not plan to move back in. Ever. My sister is 16. And since we were little kids, our parents have pushed the idea that sisters are friends and that your sister is the person you put before all other friends. And you do whatever they need from you. This always ended up very one-sided. With me needing to bring her with me when she wanted to come, me needing to let her sleep in my room and sometimes my bed when she had bad dreams, me missing out on a field trip because my sister fell sick that day and couldn't go on hers, me needing to take her to prom with me because she wanted to go. Stuff like that is the norm for us. She adores me, no doubt about it. But I do not think of her as a friend and I do not like her very much. She's very bad at being a friend, and not just to me. She's selfish and always wants to do stuff she likes, and doesn't take the time to do stuff others want to do, even though she expects you to do her stuff. We don't have common interests either. For years, I complained to my parents about it, how I felt like it was unfair that I had to prioritize my sister over my actual friends. They sent me to therapy and told me she's my best friend. They grounded me once because I told them my sister was not my friend and she wasn't doing anything for me, yet I had to do stuff for her. This is why I moved out. My sister told me she'll move in with me in 2 more years, and she'll stay with me overnight sometimes. She asked about decorating her room at my place. She doesn't have a room. I told her as much, and I told her we would not be living together again, and she was not allowed to spend the night. She asked why, and I said I ran away from home, and she wanted to know why. I told her life will be very different now. She wanted to know if I would drive her to a Christmas fair her school is taking part in, and I said no. I told her she couldn't use me anymore. She brought up staying overnight again, and I made it very clear that would never happen, and she cried and called me mean. Then my parents tried to reach me, but I blocked them when I moved out. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You are setting boundaries now that you're an adult. Good for you. It really sucks that the parents have essentially destroyed any resemblance of an actual sibling relationship that Opie and her sister could have had by pushing them so hard. Not the a-hole. Your sister doesn't understand because just as you've been raised to cater to her, she's been raised to expect it. She doesn't know anything else. Show her something else. You can bask in your newfound freedom without cutting your family completely off. Remember, you have full autonomy now. You can dictate how much you'll do. You can end a conversation. You set the rules of your home. You can train them all in how to deal with you. I agree/disagree with this assessment. I would like to think that parents and little sister will have the golden light bulb go off and realize what has been allowed to happen. However, I live in the real world and no, it won't. At least not for a very long time, with multiple attempts by both parents and little sister to ignore the boundaries and walk all over OP. The family needs to be cut off until they realize that OP is no longer the third parent in this relationship. Giving any leeway will result in them boundary stomping OP over and over again. The only other option I can think of is to have one very frank discussion with the entire family where OP comes right out and says, "My entire life has been spent being her caregiver, and you have ignored every attempt I have made to rectify the situation. Heretofore, I will no longer babysit, provide transportation, provide companionship/devote all my free time to raising your daughter. You may ask me to, but you should expect me to say no and have alternate arrangements. And as for you, sister, it is high time you get your own life and stop co-opting mine. You will not be living with me. You may not even be allowed to stay overnight if you are unable to comprehend that I am not willing to spend all my life taking care of you. You may not be in my life at all, depending on how well you adhere to my boundaries. You don't have to like it, but you will stop walking all over me, or you will all be put in a timeout until such time as I feel you might respect me, and then walk away before they can argue. I wish hope you well, but don't foresee the parents realizing how awful they have been. Update. Boyfriend seems to actively discourage me trying to be healthier. Original post. In the last 1 year, due to my mental health issues and some medication, I've gained a lot of weight, 40 pounds. I'm finally in a place financially and mentally where I'm starting to feel motivated enough to exercise and eat better again, but my boyfriend tries to actively discourage this behavior. If I'm eating healthy or cooking at home, he will stock the fridge up with junk and unhealthy snacks that he knows I tend to binge on. When confronted, he claims they're for him, but he barely touches them. But I end up comfort eating every time I'm anxious simply because they're available easily at home. If I'm going for a run or home workout, he will come up with plans at that very moment. I know it seems like a stretch, but I feel like he has something against me losing weight. I try to bring this up, but he laughed it off, saying I'm being absurd. But this legit happens every single time. Anyone has any explanations for why this might be the case? Edit. If it matters, I'm 24 female and he's 37 male. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. The top 2 things that come to mind are 1. He likes the extra weight but doesn't want to tell you. 2. He's worried about you getting in shape and leaving him. These are complete guesses because I don't know him or the situation. These are just a couple of common things that came to mind. He has previously made fat jokes about my body because I decided to get back in shape. Nothing that hurt me too much, but stuff that made it clear that he thinks I'm overweight. Option 1 is out then. Why are you still with this guy if he was making fat jokes about you? With that, plus the age difference, plus him not wanting you to get in shape, I'm slightly concerned that this isn't the healthiest relationship and that he thinks if you keep the weight, you'll be more likely to believe that you can't do any better than him and stay. A lot of horrible or toxic relationships involve the harmful partner convincing the other partner that they'll never be able to find better in order to keep them from leaving and keep controlling them. I don't know the specifics of your relationship though, so maybe that's off base. I mean, he's been supportive of everything else I do, like taking up a new hobby or excelling at work. I try to ask him outright, but he always seems to brush this particular topic aside. He has stopped with the fat jokes too suddenly. And when we are intimate, his body language has started to feel like he likes the extra flesh. He's getting something out of preventing you from changing your lifestyle. What do you think that is? My guess is he wants your self-esteem kept down to help him get an upper hand on the relationship, or convince you it's too good for you so he gets away with more garbage. He always kept saying earlier that skinny or fat he will always find me attractive. Initially, when I'd talk about getting fitter, he would be supportive enough. But when I actually made changes, he suddenly started doing all of this. He says that, but in your other comments he also made fun of your weight. Don't make excuses for him. This is creepy, manipulative behavior. Now for the first update. First of all, thanks everyone for your comments and advice. I really appreciate all the responses. After reading a bunch of comments that mostly revolved around him trying to keep me unhealthy and overweight so that I'd always be insecure, and a few people suggesting he liked the extra flesh on me or has a feeder fetish, I had no idea something like this exists till I read it here. I decided to have an outright confrontation, again. At first, he, as usual, tried to laugh it off and said I'm taking myself too seriously. But then I broke down and begged him to clarify things while I was in tears. Because my medication has led to me gaining a lot of weight, but I finally have the motivation to do something about it. After a couple of hours of me crying and reiterating all of this, plus my mental health issues that are worsening due to this, he finally told the truth. It was something I was dreading. He accepted that he has always been fascinated with feederism but never tried it out with any of his exes because they've always been athletic and thought it would be harmless with me because I'm already overweight. I was stunned and heartbroken. I'm not the one to kink shame, but this honestly does seem like something unethical and abusive. If not the fetish in itself, then definitely his approach to it. I completely lost it and yelled at him that how could he even think about doing something like this without me consenting or even knowing about it. He kept on insisting that I look better with a weight and that he wasn't open about it because I'd react exactly how I'm reacting now. He also said he wouldn't be as attracted to me as he is now if I became slimmer. I was speechless after a point. He thinks I'm overreacting. He's asleep right now, but I'm considering this whole relationship. I definitely need a break, if not a breakup. I've decided I'm going to ask him to stay at his own apartment while I think things through. I'm disgusted and so hurt. Edit. I really appreciate all the comments here, and I am going to have a talk with him first thing today and put an end to things. It's causing me a lot of pain to dump him, to be honest, because I do love him. But what he did is so cruel. Thank you again for all the advice. I'm reading all the comments here and they're all super helpful and something I really need right now. Most of you are being really kind here. But for those of you who are messaging me, asking me things like if I'm stupid or if I have any self-respect, are you for real? Also, don't expect any replies whatsoever. I have enough emotional trauma going on without having to entertain your cruelty. He kept insisting I look better with the weight and he wasn't open about it because I'd react exactly how I'm reacting now. He just fully admitted he doesn't care about you or what you want. You exist as a fetish for him and now he's irritated because your desires aren't aligning with what he wants. Dump him immediately. Yep, 100%. I lied to you because I know what I was proposing would be a violation of your boundaries and wants. Literally similar something happened to me with my exes. And they gaslit me so badly it really messed with my body image. Let me be clear. This kind of behavior is frowned upon even in the fetishism fetish community. Why? Because he did it without your consent. He mistreated your body without you knowing all to fulfill his fetish. That's selfish in the extreme, to say the least. You can do better than him. Better than this. You want to lose weight and be healthy, do exactly that. Drop him and focus on you. You deserve it. You should be considering the relationship. Breaks aren't a thing. You need to just break up. This. I hate it when people say let's take a break. If you feel like you need to take a break from your relationship, as in reassessing it, you just need to break up. If you're that far in doubt about your relationship working out, it's time to call it quits. I can see you taking a break from your partner physically, as in needing alone time. That's fine. But if it's a break like what I described, it's time to end it. That's what my instinct says, to be honest. But while talking, he did claim that I'm kink-shaming and dismissing his preferences. Fetishism is really something I don't know much about at all. I read up some stuff on the internet which sounded really bad. Downright cruel if you ask me. I don't know if I should give it another chance and see if I can understand it at all or just walk away. He made you participate in his kink, non-consensually. For how long? Months? A year? That is so foul. It's not about him having a kink. It's about him forcing you to be subject to it without your knowledge or consent, and the fact that it is harmful to you and he did this knowing it would harm you. Please be strong and don't let him pull this out over your eyes. A couple of months. I had joined a neighborhood gym because I could finally afford to, and the trainers were super helpful and kind, and I made friends as well, which was great for my mental health. I still cannot believe he did this. I'm going to be ending things as this is not something I can, or should have to, move on from as if it's nothing. Now for the final update. Hi, thank you so much for expressing concern. I spoke to him and asked him to pack his things and leave. He was upset, but he didn't flip or anything. I tried to insist that he will work on this and not do anything against my wishes again, but I just couldn't look at him the same. After a while, he became overly affectionate too, but I managed to stand my ground. Eventually, he left. I've blocked him everywhere and called a few friends to stay over tonight. I'm so glad to read this. He is a bad person, to put it bluntly. If you can swing it, a therapist may be able to help you process this. It could also be worth exploring with them why you were with this guy in the first place when there were already multiple other worrying aspects to the relationship. He's 13 years older than you. Age gaps can be fine, but they're commonly bad news when a younger person is mid-20s or less, like you, because there's such a difference in maturity and life experience. It's not unusual for the older person to take advantage of their younger partner's naivety and manipulate and mistreat them. It sounds like he got with you pretty quickly after leaving his last long-term relationship. So quickly that he was still living with his ex. In one bedroom home in which they shared a bed. Multiple levels of red flags here. But you also said he was starting to live at your place recently. That's moving pretty fast. How long had you two even been together, considering he still had a place with his ex? I'm not trying to make you feel worse, or like you're in any way at fault or deserving of his behavior. You're not. We aren't born knowing better, and obviously your judgment isn't all bad. considering you recognized something was amiss enough to post here about and you broke up with that dirtbag. But it sounds like you have a bit of a blind spot and it might be valuable to figure out why. Now for the last story. My 30 male wife, 28 female changed dramatically after getting married. My wife and I dated for about 6 years. We are fairly different and come from very different backgrounds, but had what I thought was a really strong relationship. We got married and everything seemed wonderful. Until, while on our honeymoon, she casually mentioned that she wished we hadn't gotten married. I was blindsided by the comment, but when I questioned her on it, she said she just meant that it felt like we were so young to be a married couple. On that same trip, she mentioned that she no longer wanted to live in the state where my family was, but instead closer to her family. We had talked before getting married at length of trying to eventually live in my family's state. I was initially upset, but given that it's fair to want to be near your own family, I said okay, as long as we live somewhere with a good airport so I could still travel to visit my family. After we got back from the honeymoon, she stopped saying I love you. If I said it, she might mumble it back, but most often would give a mm-hmm. When I asked her about it, she said that she didn't feel we needed to say it to each other because we both know that we love each other. I told her that I felt I needed to hear it, especially after her comments on wishing we hadn't gotten married. She told me that we were just different in that way. About a month later, she told me that she no longer wanted biological children. She has never wanted to be pregnant and have kids herself, but we had long talked about using a surrogate. She knew that having kids was a super important thing for me, a deal breaker even. She says she changed her mind on surrogate since the wedding, about 2 months, because she thinks it's unethical to pay for another person to go through the ordeals of childbirth. She's open to adoption, but I really want to have a biological child. She told me this last bit tearfully, I think because she knows how much of an issue it is for me. With how many big things she's told me over the brief time we've been married, I'm starting to get the impression that she wants me to divorce her, but is too afraid to do it herself. I think she fell out of love with me a while ago, but got stuck in the whirlwind of the wedding and couldn't find a way out. We're trying couples counseling, but I'm so hopeless about it. I'm looking for advice on what to do now. Is there a world in which this is salvageable? I was so excited for a life together, and now I can't imagine what my life is going to look like. I'm also horrified about being a divorced 30-year-old. My wife is such a big part of my life. It intertwined with all of my social and family circles. My family is going to be absolutely crushed and a bit miffed that they spent north of $50,000 on the wedding just a few months ago. Now for the top advice. Get an annulment and move on. The good thing is that your diagnosis is spot on and she sees it too. They don't just annul marriages left and right. This would be a divorce scenario. Yeah, I thought I read, for my state, an annulment means you haven't consummated a marriage. Could be too late for OP by now since they went on their honeymoon. It's one of the requirements to file for annulment in my state. There are other reasons that qualify for annulment also, like underage, one or both parties still have active marriage elsewhere, and mental incompetence. OP laws vary by state, so do research on your state's rule if you are in the USA. It's free and easy to Google. Then contact an attorney. Most of them will give you free first meeting or phone call consultation. Good luck and sorry you married a bait and switcher. I hope all the best for you as you move on with life. Money's a material object. I'm sure your family doesn't care about the $50,000 at the end of the day. They will care that you are happy in life, be it being divorced or not. You should have gotten the marriage annulled right after your honeymoon. She clearly did not want to be married. She dropped red flag after red flag like it was an awful soccer match. What conversations did you have before you were married? She just changed her mind right after? Get out, sooner rather than later. This can't be life. You don't have to be forced to live a life you didn't bargain for. Classic bait and switch. She thinks she's got your marriage trapped, and you won't bother to break up now, so you'll just have to take whatever crap she wants to demand. File for divorce because it's not going to get any better. I'm sorry you're going through this. Go find a better life for yourself. It's out there. She doesn't want to be married. She did want the wedding, her special day. She got what she wanted and now all of you agreed to one she's reneging on. Divorce now before you add children to the mix. I'd look into an annulment since it's so recent. You can be a divorced 30-year-old, free to find someone who truly wants the same things you do. Or in 20 years, you can be a divorced 50-year-old who finally got fed up living with a lying con artist, but at that point it'd be too late to live the life you really want to. Divorced 39-year-old here. Hi, you absolutely can find that. If that's a fear you have, OP, shelve it, because starting over can actually be pretty great. Update. My 26 female fiance is convinced I have a crush on my friend's husband. Original post. My best friend Sarah, 26 female, and her husband Matt, 28 male, have put me in a very difficult position with my fiance Jack, 30 male. I knew Matt since my childhood. He was my neighbor and we were friendly. Sarah and I were roommates in college and became close friends. When I introduced Sarah and Matt, they hit it off and started dating each other. I was happy to see two of my friends get together, but also annoyed that I became the third wheel, and I was often ignored or set aside because they were so into each other. By the time I graduated, Matt had completely dropped me as a friend. That saddened me, but I was still good friends with Sarah, so it was what it was. Sarah and I would frequently hang out, but I never talked with Matt other than the occasional polite hellos. Sarah would sometimes try to do couples dates with her and Matt would meet my dates. And I found that Matt had developed an unpleasant personality and would frequently be rude and condescending towards me. However, he's a very devoted and loving husband to Sarah, so for her sake I ignored him. When my fiancé and I got engaged, we had no plans to do a party. Sarah was disappointed that we didn't throw an engagement party, so she organized a small get-together at her home to celebrate us. The party was nice, and as things were winding down, my fiancé and I went to thank Sarah and Matt for their sweet gesture before we took our leave. Matt was pretty tipsy by then, and out of nowhere he suddenly hugged me, and in front of my fiancé said that he was so glad that I was finally settling down, that he is relieved that now I'll be over the crush I had on him. I was shocked and told him that wasn't true. He just laughed and told Jack that I was always chasing him, and he had to work hard to keep me away. I dragged Sarah in and asked her to please fix this mess, and she was all like, "Oh, he's drunk. Ignore him," and says, "You know I always trust you. I know you wouldn't act on your crush." Jack was pretty angry by this point, and he walked out. I ran after him and tried explaining that this isn't true, but he told me he doesn't want to be anyone's second choice or their backup plan. Since that night, he isn't talking to me or returning my calls. I have talked to Sarah multiple times to clear things with Jack, but she's brushing me off. I don't understand why they believe this or why she'd stay friends with me if she thought I was into her husband. I was in her wedding party and did all the work because her sister, who was the maid of honor, was too busy. I have helped her through her pregnancy and have babysat her kids so many times. She never gave me any indication she thought this. And why would she want me close to her family if she believed this? I feel humiliated that these people think I was pining away for a jerk like Matt. I need help in convincing Jack that this isn't true. I am also mad at him for throwing away our relationship over what some drunken idiot said. I don't know what I'm going to do about my friendship with Sarah. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Sarah thinks it's true too. She was confident in her relationship and didn't see it as an issue, but I'm pretty sure she thought it as well. That's why she's brushing you off, because she agrees with him. For Matt to mess up your relationship that relieves him of the responsibility of thinking you have a crush on him is irony of the highest level. He's a prick to say that in front of Jack. Point out to her that her husband messed up your relationship, and you expect them to do something about it or you're through with them. I have no idea how to heal this with Jack. He likely won't listen unless he comes to his senses when he comes down. The issue is whether he'll communicate with you at all. But if he does, go full guns to how ridiculous it is that you got them together and would have never done that if you were after him yourself. Meanwhile, drop all contact with Sarah and Matt. They're just messing with your life, and they sound pretty smug and nasty to me. It sounds to me like Sarah thought it first, and when she told Matt, he felt uncomfortable and that is why his behavior towards her changed all those years ago. And send a message to both Sarah and Matt saying how disappointed you are in them both, and that they have caused problems by saying something that isn't true. And then I'd screenshot it and send it to Jack. Then give him some space to process. Block Sarah and Matt. Good luck, OP. I think it's more what Sarah said that set Jack off. Friends usually know each other's secrets, so Sarah co-signing what Matt said holds more weight than if she had disagreed. Also, it's possible that Matt has made slick comments like this to Jack behind your back. Yes, I think this is right. I am trying to get Sarah to talk to Jack and deny this, but she's not doing that. I don't understand why she won't do this for me. Matt has probably lied to Sarah the same way he lied to Jack. Unless you can get Matt to confess, the best you can do is sit Sarah and Jack down. Make it clear you're committed to Jack, loyal to Sarah, and have zero feelings for Matt. Sarah and Matt are people you do not want in your life. If your fiancé is this insecure, I suggest you take a step back. Send him his ring and tell him that you will wait until he decides to believe the woman he claims to love. He also seems like a jerk by refusing to communicate. I do not see a great marriage if this is how he resolves conflict. I am quite desperate to not lose Jack, but I am also angry about his actions here. Don't care about Matt, but Sarah's lack of care is heartbreaking to me. First update. I talked to Sarah again and asked her first of all why she'd think I had a crush on Matt. She said that when I first introduced them, I had talked up Matt and gushed about him, and she took that as me being into him. I said I was fond of him since I've known him for a long time, but that doesn't mean I want to be with him. She said when they started dating, I was often upset about it. I said I wasn't upset about their dating. I was upset that she'd make plans with me and then leave me to be with him. And when we were all together, I didn't enjoy being the third wheel while they ignored me. That had nothing to do with wanting him and more to not liking being left out of my best friend. I asked her why she hadn't said anything before, and she explained that she could manage the situation. She had asked Matt to stop talking to me completely, and she engineered situations so there was little chance of us socializing with each other. I asked her now that I have explained that I never had a crush on Matt. Can you please talk to Jack and tell him? She said she didn't want to lie. This frustrated me immensely. She could ignore this imaginary crush for years and manipulate me, but won't talk to my fiancé to help my relationship. I told her I was done being her friend. Thinking back, I was always doing stuff for her and she used me but did little for me. Now for the second update. I wrote a long letter to Jack explaining the entire history of my relationship with Sarah and Matt with the recent screen caps. I asserted as best as I could that I had never pined after any guy, and I loved him and he was my only choice. After days of silence, Jack agreed to talk to me. We met and he said that he sees two ways of interpreting the situation. 1. Matt and Sarah are right and he doesn't want to be my second choice. 2. They are malicious people who are messing with me and that shows very poor judgment on my part that I'd have a best friend like this, and he doesn't want that quality in a life partner. Either possibility leads to the same conclusion, that he wants to call off the engagement. He reminded me that I had represented Sarah as one of the most important people in my life, that I'd jump up and help her all the time. I had once canceled plans with him to take care of her kid when the baby was sick. It had irked him, but he had seen it as me being caring and nice, but now he's seeing all that in a different light. I cried and begged him to not end our engagement, but he wanted a break for a while. I thought over what he said for a few days, and came to realize that he was right. I was a clingy friend and a doormat. I never even saw how much one-sided my friendship with Sarah was. I was a doormat with Jack too. I didn't want to get married or have kids this early but agreed to his timelines. I gave up exciting job opportunity with more money because he didn't want me traveling for work. I love him but I need to fix myself and be stronger. I gave back his ring and ended things. I returned all the gifts he gave too. He was offended by that but I didn't feel good about keeping the very expensive things he had given me. He makes a lot more than me and was very generous with what he gave me, but I can't keep that now. Sarah was quiet for a while, but then started calling me. I ignored a lot of her calls. But this morning I answered her call and told her about a breakup. I was looking for sympathy from my old friend, but she was more interested in knowing if I was still going to watch her kid while she and Matt went on an overnight trip. She got pretty angry when I said no. I have blocked her now. I've lost my fiancé, my best friend, and my relationship with my nephew whom I adored, all in one go. But still, I am thankful for the comments that showed this wasn't something I could fix and helped me rip off the band-aid and walk away from this mess. Damn, Sarah's such an awful person. People are also glossing over the fact that apparently Sarah thought Opie had a huge crush on Matt before she and Matt had even met. So from Sarah's point of view, her bestie gushes about some guy she's known for ages and has a crush on. Sarah then continues to date the guy her friend is crushing on, and then purposefully destroys their decade-long friendship because she's uncomfortable with Opie's crush. Maybe if you can't handle your friend having a crush on your partner, don't pursue someone you know your friend has a crush on. This is Friendship 101. Don't go after the guys/girls that your friends like. If you do decide to do so, then don't have the nerve to then get upset about it as if it's anyone's fault but your own. What's the odds Sarah's marriage breaks down soon after she actually realizes that Opie was never into Matt, and she didn't win anything by getting with him? I can't set odds well, But I do consider myself a betting person from time to time. And I'd bet that what you're thinking is right along the lines of what I'm thinking. How much of the friendship between Opie and Sarah was ever actually a real friendship, even from the start? Because it kinda sounds like Sarah gets off on the idea of having her best friend's crush as her own, so to speak, and lording that information over everyone. Even ignoring all the backstory. Imagine telling your best friend, "My fiance and I broke up. Sorry I can't watch your kid right now," and them getting angry about it. Add in the "we broke up because of you," and that makes it 100 times worse. It's all fun and games until you lose your free babysitter. Yep, my best friend shat on me completely and I finally snapped and said no babysitting, and never spoke to her again. It was a huge weight off my shoulders though. Poor Opie. I've seen it before, but if you act like a doormat person, then you find yourself with people willing to take advantage of you. I hope she can work on herself and stand up for herself in the future. Hopefully without developing major trust issues too. This kind of situation can really mess with people. My ex-best friend who slept with my ex-girlfriend 3 years ago has gotten into contact with me. Hi, firstly, sorry this is my first time ever coming here about something, so I hope this gets somewhere. I'm 21 male and my ex-girlfriend 22 female now. We dated back in high school and we were a pretty solid relationship. Well, so I thought. I got kicked out of my mom's house pretty early into the relationship with her, and so I moved in with her and her family. We made it work terrifically. We would wake up, make lunch together, come home, make dinner, then watch a movie. We were always affectionate and intimate with one another. Fast forward 3 years into the relationship. I started hanging out with my best friend at a time, 23 male, for weeks on end, because me and my girlfriend were having problems communicating and being at home together, so I would stay at his. My ex-girlfriend asked to come stay over one night with us at his house, and we were more than okay with that. And when she came over, we all hung out as normal and everything. 2 weeks down the track, me and her both are pretty much staying at my best friend's house every day by this point, because we threw parties and everything. And they would go running off together somewhere when I'd be drunk and asleep in another room. I would catch them out a couple times for acting weird or being quiet the minute I came in the room. One night after my 18th, we threw a small get-together at my best friend's house for myself and to celebrate, and kind of get over the fact that my girlfriend broke up with me 8 hours after my 18th. And about 6 hours before this party, she came to the get-together and everyone who was invited stayed in a room with him and my ex-girlfriend while I was sitting outside drinking by myself. This night, both my best friend and my now ex-girlfriend asked me if they could have a night alone away from me and all the drama that had been going down. I didn't say no and agreed. That night, I drove past his house only to find her car there in his carport. Mind you, her best friend lived 2 minutes down the road and she chose to go see mine. It's pretty obvious what was going on, but my best friend got in contact with me a couple days ago and we spoke yesterday about everything they did behind my back. It went as far as my ex telling him that she loved him. Back then when it was all happening, I never got the answers I wanted, but now I have them and I don't know what to do. I miss the friendship we had and how close we were. I want to be his friend, but I'm also afraid of what all my friends now would think, as none of them like him for what he did to me. Should I just move on now that I have my answers, or do I become a friend? I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Now for the advice. Me personally, I wouldn't have a friendship with someone like that. They were being sneaky behind your back. Snake in the grass in my opinion. Yeah, that comes to my mind a lot, and I do forgive a lot too. You don't need a snake as a friend. You can forgive as it's healthy, but don't forget. Thank you. Could you really trust that guy again? I don't think so. Not completely anyway, and definitely don't think I'd be able to trust him to even be near or know what a future partner looks like. Why would you invite that dishonesty back into your life? He had a chance to be a good friend when you needed it and valued access to your ex more. He is not to be trusted. In life, you need to rely on others, and you need to have trust. It is too precious to waste on crap heads. I never seen it as inviting dishonesty, because he's the one that contacted me and wanted to talk about what happened and give me answers. I can completely see where you're coming from and I completely agree. He had his chance and valued her more. It's all just bringing back a lot. Are they still together? If so, you're going to have to deal with her. No, she's currently dating someone else I know and has been for about 2.5 years now, maybe 3. It was about a month after me and her initially broke up that her and my best friend weren't in contact anymore. So they just hooked up to mess with you? Forget about this guy. You seem to be an emotionally vulnerable person. You became friends with him very quickly, and you're thinking of forgiving him. This is a great opportunity for people with no honor like him. Don't put yourself in that position of an easy prey. Be hard on those who are hard on you and be gentle with those who are gentle with you. The someone else you know wasn't another ex-friend, was it? It was.